America's choice in home care.
Right. Good morning, everyone. This is Mary Ellen Wilson here to welcome you once again to our coffee chat. This is our bi-monthly series where we bring you topics of interest. And today we have a really great coffee chat planned. So first things first, as I said, my name is Mary Ellen Wilson, and I am your business development manager with Visiting Angels. We provide home care to older adults so that seniors can age in place gracefully for as long as they want. So our coffee chats, oh, by the way, I should also tell you, we do have offices throughout Maryland and specifically Gaithersburg, Silver Spring, Edgewater, as well as Washington, D.C. And so we can service anyone and everyone in the surrounding area. All right, so our coffee chats are our way of coming to you, our clients and our wonderful referral partners, to bring you some information that you can use. We miss being out in the community so much. So our coffee chat started, oh gosh, I guess back in May, as a way to be in front of you and with you on a regular scheduled basis. So today, oh wait, first some housekeeping. Should you have some questions as we go through the coffee chat, all you have to do is go ahead and type your question into the chat box, or if you prefer, you can use that Q&A box. And good morning to our Facebook friends as well. You can just put your comment in the comment section, your question in the comment section. And at the end of the presentation, we go through all the questions, and of course, you'll have plenty of opportunity to ask yours. All right, so today's topic, how to communicate with a loved one suffering from Alzheimer's or other dementia. We're super excited because not only is this topic, it pulls at all of our heartstrings, but also because it is our very own clinician on staff, Mary Cerveny, our registered nurse, who is going to be delivering everything you need to know about communicating with your loved ones. All right, Mary, we're ready for you. Are you ready for us?
I'm ready. So good morning, everybody. It's nice to see everybody on this beautiful sunny day. I am the clinical supervisor for our Maryland office, and then I am the client services coordinator for our DC office. I've been with Visiting Angels about 2.5 years. I've been a nurse for a little over 20 years. So working with the elderly has been a passion of mine. I love working with them. They have so many great stories to tell, and they just, they just bring so much to the table when it comes to just having fun talking with them. So first thing I want to go through is just, go ahead, Tiffany, and get to the next slide, please. I'm not controlling the slides today.
By the way, I will tell you, we have Tiffany in the background that's going to help us with the Facebook Live. She's also working the slide deck today. So bear with us. We'll get it going. Go ahead, Mary.
So I try to put some cute little pictures and stuff up, so just to make it a little bit better. So unfortunately, Alzheimer's is such a prevalent disease, and probably everybody on here either knows somebody who has it, they have a family member, or they've just, they've got friends that has Alzheimer's disease. Personally, my grandmother had it, and before my dad passed away, he was starting to show symptoms of it as well. So it affects not only the person who has it, but everybody who comes in contact with that person. So chances are you've probably had your fair share of, communication issues, frustrations. And unfortunately, as the disease progresses, these just get worse and worse. So as you're caring for them or dealing with them, the most important thing to remember is that they had a life just like we did. They had jobs, families, hobbies, things of that nature. So the lost words and memories are far sadder to them than they are to you and I. So this can often be the reason why they get angry and frustrated. You may see the violent behavior just because they've lost those, they can't remember it. It's excuse me, very frustrating. So even though you can't control their behaviors, your words, your mannerisms, the tone of your voice, your calm demeanor can really help with that. Okay, next slide.
Mary, let me just ask you, when you say the memories dance and hide, and that's such a beautiful way to put that, let me ask you, does that mean that there are times when they may have their memories, and I don't want to use the word lucid, but they're
Right.
good with their memories and then other times it fades out?
Right. And you'll hear a lot of people say when they're taking care of them, they have good days and they have bad days. And that's where that comes in.
Gotcha.
Because there'll be
Okay.
days where, they're able to tell you what they, their job where they had when they were 16 years old. But then the next day they can't even remember that they just ate breakfast. So it's very difficult to deal with that because you just never know what you're going to experience day to day.
Thank you.
So now we get into the two different types of communication. You've got receptive and you've got expressive, and it's basically exactly what you think they are. Receptive communication refers to the way the listener receives and understands a message. So a person with Alzheimer's, they may have damage to their temporal lobe of the brain, and this is the area that can make it difficult for them to understand the spoken word, okay? You can tell them that you just saw a dog outside, but they don't really remember what a dog is. So this can be very, very frustrating because they feel like they should know what you're talking about, but they just don't. And then we get into the expressive communication, which is how the person gives a message. And this could be verbal, it could be body language, emotional expressions, even writing, sign language for people who are deaf. And the person with Alzheimer's may have trouble remembering certain words, and they may have trouble showing the correct emotions. So they may be crying and you may think something's wrong, but they're actually happy. So this is part of where the expressive communication issues come in. So you have to remember that Alzheimer's really impairs their ability to communicate effectively. And it also reduces the ability to express information and understand the information. So now I just want to quickly review the stages of Alzheimer's disease. And you have the early stage, which you can also be considered mild. You have the middle stage, which people consider moderate. And then you have the late stage, which is severe. So when you're in the early stages, this comes on slowly. It's not like all of a sudden you realize that they've got something going on. They may look well, they may be able to cover up the signs of the disease, they may be able to hold a regular conversation on with you. But this is where the communication problems start as they have poor concentration, they start to get the forgetfulness, and they have a short attention span, okay? Unfortunately, this stage can last for years. Of course, we don't have definitive, we can't say it lasts for 5 years and then you get into the next stage. So it's really difficult to determine exactly how long that people are in these stages. And the one thing to remember about the early stage is, and this is a lot of times people don't want to talk about this or even think about it, but this is the time to plan end of life, financial stuff, get all of your power of attorney in place, because we want the person to be able to participate and make those decisions. As you go into the later and middle stages, they may not be able to participate and, give their thoughts. So early stage is really key into getting all of their things in order. Okay.
It definitely makes some sense. Let me ask you, do most people when they're in the early stages, this when they're diagnosed?
They may not even be diagnosed at this point.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, the early stage is a very difficult stage because, again, you don't know. But example I like to use is I had a wonderful conversation with the client and their family. This is when we were still going into the home. She was able to answer all of our questions, carry out a normal conversation. But then she mentioned the monster coming out of her ceiling fan.
Oh,
yeah. So so they can carry on a conversation like you or I, but then they'll say something off the wall like that.
Right.
So if you
start, by the way, there are hallucinations that can become apparent. It wasn't just,
Okay. Right. They see things, they hear things.
Right.
But the one thing that most people really understand is the forgetfulness. Okay. Where did I put my keys? And at this stage, a lot of people can still be working. So this is where you really need to pay attention, because obviously as they start moving into the middle stage, we may not want them driving because they may get to work but not remember how to get home. They may not remember where they're going. So it's really key to pay attention if you do notice them starting to get into the early stage.
Okay. All right. So let's go to middle stage. So
The
what are the
moderate stage,
hallmarks of the middle stage?
yeah,
Yeah.
this is a progressive stage, and this could last up to 12 years. Okay. And this is another one that's very difficult to deal with because there is such a long period of time. If you think about it, 12 years is a long time to be dealing with the increased forgetfulness. You know, they talk in circles. They have a difficult time being part of a conversation.
Mhm.
They can't really follow directions as well as they used to, and they will ask those repetitive questions. I did take care of my great aunt, and she would ask us, "What's for dinner?" We would tell her, and then not 5, 10 minutes later, she was asking, "What's for dinner?" again. So you have to remember that they're going to ask those questions over and over again, and so you just tell them the answer. Okay. This is where they may start experiencing changes in sleep patterns, and I have seen this a lot where they're like, "Mom is up all night, and then during the day she's tired, she doesn't want to do anything, but then she's up at night." And of course that affects the caregiver as well, because that messes up their sleep schedule, because they don't want to leave mom or dad awake at night alone just wandering through the house or risk wandering outside the home. Okay. And this is the stage where they do tend to wander. Now, not everybody will wander who has Alzheimer's disease, okay? But this is the stage where it tends to happen. So in this case, it's almost like childproofing your home again, okay? You want to put locks on drawers if you have to. You want to, if the deadbolt is in the regular place on a door, they still may be able to do that. So we always recommend putting it up higher, because that's not where they're used to seeing a deadbolt. That way they can't get outside the home. There's other things as alarms where it's not really like one of those ear piercing alarms, but when the door opens, you'll hear a chime. That way you know somebody's opened the door.
Oh, that's smart. That is
Mhm.
smart.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of different tips and hints on, if they do get to that stage where they are wandering, what we can do to keep them safe. Okay, now you don't have to worry about, putting plugs in, they're not sticking knives in plugs, but they may open up a drawer with knives. So you want to put a child lock on that. Things where there are chemicals or cleaning supplies.
Mhm.
Okay? Keeping an eye on your refrigerator, making sure you're getting rid of expired food, because they're not going to understand that it's not good. They're going to eat it and they're going to get sick. So it almost is like having a toddler in the home, unfortunately.
It is so true. I just did an in-home a safety assessment for a brand new client whose mom is, I would say, from what you're describing, Mary, I would say she's probably in the middle stage. And one of the things that he is fearful of is that his mom will turn on the gas stove and then forget and leave it on. So that was one of the first things we said, okay, we need the child proofing element on the knobs so that the caregiver can still make her meals, but so that she cannot turn them
Yeah,
on.
I've
Yeah.
actually seen it where they have just unplugged the stove altogether and they just don't even use it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it can get bad. This is another stage where they are going to develop personality and behavioral changes. Now, my grandmother, I saw her from start to finish. So I've seen all these stages. She was the most kind, wonderful, church-going woman. But when she got into the stage, she was slapping my cousins. She was swearing, which she never did.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's just a disease process. So you will notice that. They can become paranoid. They can become suspicious and delusional. And the reason why they're doing that is because they're forgetting. So, if like your sister or brother comes in, they're in there thinking, "Oh gosh, they're coming in here to rob me," because they don't recognize who they are. So that's where all that plays into. So now we want to get into the late stage, which is severe. This could last several weeks to several years. It just depends on if they have any other comorbidities that may take place. Obviously, if there's any falls involved and they have a hip fracture, that could, unfortunately speed up the dying process. In this stage, and not always, they are often bedridden though, because they have just really lost long and short-term memory. In this stage, they don't remember how to eat. They don't remember how to shower. They don't remember why they have to eat or why they have to shower. This is a very difficult stage for family members because often they don't recognize their own husband or wife or children. And this is very difficult because, you know, they think of it this way. We've been married for 65 years. How did they not know that I'm their wife or their husband? And this is very difficult. So in this stage, I do recommend, if possible, try and find a support group so you can talk with people who are going through the exact same thing. Because it is not easy. It really isn't. It's heartbreaking. And it's heartbreaking for both, even though at this stage, the person who has Alzheimer's may not really understand what's going on. But for the family members, it is very difficult. This is where you want to maybe consider hospice care, and also services like ours that we can provide care in the home, because the people who are caring for client or family members with Alzheimer's are going to get burned out very quickly because of it's just they're not used to taking care of them. They're going to have issues with incontinence. They may not be able to get out of bed. So, you know, you need some extra help in there to help take care of that person. Or if they are still mobile, you know, just the wandering at night. So you may need to hire somebody to come in at night just so you can get a good night's sleep, because you have to be able to take care of yourself in order to be able to take care of your family member.
Right.
And a lot of people, this is very difficult as well because they're so used to being the caretaker. You know, that's my wife, I'm taking care of her. But then they get very frustrated and they get burnt out. So hospice is a wonderful resource. There's obviously a lot of misconceptions about hospice. They're not in there just because someone's dying. They provide a lot of, they can provide care, they can provide equipment that's needed. There's even, you know, once the client passes away, they offer grief support. So people don't go on hospice just to die. They provide pain control if that's needed. So, you know, if you hear the word hospice, you know, don't panic because it really is a great resource.
Okay, so now let's get to how can we communicate better? So, and I'm assuming we're talking about stage 1 and stage 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Okay. So obviously they may have trouble finding the right words. So you want to give them enough time to try and figure out what they're trying to say. You have to be patient and you have to show them support. Okay. You want to listen closely and be careful not to interrupt, because that could kind of throw off their train of thought, what they're trying to think about and try to say to you. So acknowledge their frustrations, because sometimes you can tell just facial expressions. They get that look on their face like, I know what I need to say, but I can't say it. So acknowledge it. Say, I know you want to tell me something important. You know, I'm trying to understand. You know, take your time. Give them a break. Say, you know what? Let's just stop for a minute. Get your thoughts, and then go ahead and try to communicate again. If you kind of have an idea of what they're trying to say and they just can't find that right word, offer that word. Say, you know, are you trying to tell me this? Or, you know, are you trying to tell me that? And they're like, oh yeah, that's it. Okay. So whatever we can do to alleviate as much frustration as possible. You want to manage their environmental noise. You don't want TV on, you don't want radio on. If they have windows open and there's construction going on, you hear a lot of banging and stuff, close that window, minimize the amount of noise and distraction, because we want them to be able to focus on what they're trying to think about and what they're trying to say. A big one, never criticize them or correct them. If they say the sky is green, say, okay, yeah, not a problem, because we don't want to add to their frustration, okay? But just try and, you know, figure out what they're trying to say and just be there for them. Avoid arguing with them. Again, if they say the sky is green, don't say, well, no, it's not, it's blue. That's not helping them at all, okay? If they say something you don't agree with, or they accuse you of doing something wrong, just let it go, okay? It's very hard to take things personally, especially if you get accused of something. I can definitely identify with that, because that happened to me yesterday. So if you're trying to stand your ground, it's just going to make the situation worse. So we don't want to increase their agitation, because they're already frustrated enough because they can't find the words, or it's just very difficult for them. Okay. Next slide. Okay, so what can you do to communicate better? So you're going to want to identify yourself if they don't recognize you. And of course, as you get into the later, I say the later stage of the middle stage, is where they start to have that issue where they can't remember who you are. Especially now, a lot of times it's more friends or, people they don't see on a regular basis. But, if they say now, who are you, to say, hey, I'm Mary, I'm your cousin, things of that nature. You don't want to say, well, how could you not know who I am? Or you should know who I am, because again, that's going to add to their frustration and their agitation. So you want to try and stay calm, stay positive, keep things simple. Don't try and go into some big explanation about what you did during the day. Very simple things. If you ask them a question, only ask them one at a time, give them a chance to respond. If it's just if they're not able to respond, then just move on, okay? You want to describe everything, especially if you're going to be providing any care and you're getting ready to, like, say, give them a bath or something. You want to make sure you let them know, okay, we're going to go get a bath or we're going to take a shower, and just kind of describe everything so that way they're not surprised or shocked or scared. Don't talk in terms of time. This is a big one. Don't ever say, well, remember when, because they can't. And again, that's going to add to their frustration. So the way to approach that is just saying, I don't know. It's just don't say remember when, okay? Or, you can always ask them, what did you do, as a kid? If they say, oh, I don't really remember, then you just move on, okay? But you never want to say remember when, because that just triggers the anger and the frustration because they can't remember. Use nonverbal communication, okay? Your demeanor is key. So you're going to want to smile a lot, touch their arm or their hand to provide comfort and reassurance. So they tend to copy your actions. So if you're acting irritated or anything like that, they're going to act the same way. So always try and stay positive, stay calm, stay reassuring. Limit your choices. So if you say, what do you want for dinner? We can have chicken, steak, salad. You don't want to do that because they're not going to be able to process that. So steak or chicken, give them two choices. You don't want to give them 10 different things to choose from. Okay. Even for people who don't have Alzheimer's, that could be a difficult choice to make. So
I was just thinking that myself. So I can't have a lot of choices, which is why I have the same lunch every single day, as you would have to, Miss Mary.
Right. So you limit their choices, and you're going to want to praise your Alzheimer's clients. Say, if they do something without a whole lot of prompting, say, that's great. You did a great job. Happy that you were able to do that. Just really, keep things positive is going to be the key. Okay. All right. So when things turn angry, and this we see quite a bit, unfortunately. So it's common, particularly in the later stage. Okay. So things to remember is you don't have to be right. Never argue with them. Don't reason with them. If they say that, you owned 12 horses when you were a kid and obviously you didn't, say, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember. That was great. Don't argue with them. Don't say we never owned horses, because again, that just adds to the anger and frustration.
And what's the point, really? What's
exactly.
The point? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, remaining calm, remain comforting. Okay. Remove distractions, which we had kind of already talked about, and provide reassurance. Let them know that they're doing okay. Even if they're just really having trouble, just say, you're doing great. Let's just take a few minutes and calm down. Mm-hmm. You're not the boss. Don't scold them. Don't punish them if they're doing something wrong. Okay. Again, they don't understand. Take mental notes. If you notice something has triggered them, like they saw something on TV, you need to do what you can to try to avoid those triggers. Talking about a certain subject, avoid that subject. The only good thing about them not having any short-term memory is they do forget very quickly, so they can be distracted fairly easily for the most part. Now, obviously not everything is 100%, but for the most part, they can be distracted fairly easily. So whatever they saw on TV, turn that off and start talking about the weather. Oh, look how beautiful it is outside. Look, the colors are changing. It's, the weather's getting colder, whatever you can do to distract them and get them away from whatever frustrated them in the first place.
I will say that, if I may, one of our clients, one of our newer clients, her husband is in early stage dementia, Alzheimer's. And she said that one thing that she can do to distract him is, if he keeps asking the same question over and over and over again, she will have Alexa, she'll say, Alexa, play South Pacific, or some other old time music. And the music comes on and it really does calm him down and seems to soothe him. So music seems to be a great technique.
It is,
Yeah.
and especially if you play the music that they love and that they're used to hearing. You know, music really is a great distraction, but it is a great thing. You know, the old saying, was it music calms a savage beast or something like that? You know, soothes a
Savage
savage
beast.
beast. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, so music really is a great distraction. Just, you know, it's a good way for them to maybe trigger some memories as well. You know, listening to something, oh, you know,
Good
I remember
point.
dancing to this, you know, at my whatever, you know. So music really is a great distraction. Okay, next slide.
So just to reiterate, don't argue or reason. I think those are the two big things.
Right,
Don't argue and reason, and don't say, well, don't you remember?
exactly.
Okay.
Or remember when? Yeah, that's
Remember,
because
yeah.
they're like, no, I don't, and that's just going to get them more upset.
Okay, so try to distract and yeah.
Here's
Okay.
where we get to some tough questions. And I've seen this before. So the first one would be, you know, can we go see my mom? You know, I want to go see my parents. Or, you know, when can we go see my husband? And of course, these people have passed away. The key is never tell them that the client or that their family member has passed away, because they're going to go through that grieving process all over again. So the best thing to do is, again, distract them. You can say things like, well, today's not really a good day. Maybe we can go tomorrow. You know, whatever you can do to distract them and get them off of wanting to go see them. Okay. But again, please do not tell them they've passed away, because that's just going to cause them a whole lot more issues. So maybe, you know, oh, the weather's not that great, or, you know, let's maybe make a visit next week. And usually they're pretty good about, you know, okay. But I mean, if they continue on and on, you just have to continue as well and try and get them off that subject. Another one is if they don't recognize you, like, who are you, you know, or do I know you? If they ask this, just tell them who you are. Again, you don't want to say, well, I'm your husband, how can you not remember that? They don't. And it's very difficult for that family member to be able to say things like that. But you can't make a big deal out of it. Don't dwell on it. And it's also important to help other family members remember this as well, especially the ones that don't see the client or the patient or the family member as often. Just kind of remind them, look, they may not remember who you are. Don't take it personally. Just remind them who you are. But again, don't say, well, why don't you remember me? Or how can you not remember me? Just let them know, hi, I'm your cousin, so, and, you know, you just have to do that. It's very, very difficult. And again, this is where I recommend getting some support, either through a support group. And of course, there's so many things online now. Obviously, with COVID, we're not doing a whole lot of we're not doing any in-person support groups. But, you know, please find one. Alzheimers.org is a great place to find one. You can Google your local Alzheimer's Association. And just, you know, look for these online support groups, because I think it's going to be very helpful to talk with other people who are going through the same thing.
Well, Mary, you don't actually have this little ditty of information, but I will let you know that we are planning on starting some virtual support groups in the new year for our clients and their families, and for the community at large, specifically for Alzheimer and dementia
Good.
clients. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, just some final tips, kind of going over a little bit of what we've already done. So you want to think about every word that you speak. You want to use short sentences. Again, ask one question at a time. Remember not to say those trigger words. Remember when, or, you know, things of that nature. Speak slowly. Speak distinctly, because obviously a lot of these clients could have issues with their hearing and vision. So you want to, again, make sure that you're approaching them from the front. You don't want to come up behind them and scare them, because that's really could start something bad. So approach them from the front, make sure you're speaking clearly. We don't want you to really yell at them. Obviously, if they can't hear you, you may have to speak a little bit louder, but the way you do that could make a big difference. So don't try and do it calmly but loudly. I know it can be difficult sometimes, especially if you're getting frustrated, you have to tell them the same thing over and over again. So try not to make it look like you're yelling at them, you know, so that can be difficult. Give simple but exact instructions. Like if you're getting ready to help them with the shower, you want to tell them, you know, lift up your arm. You know, lift up their, you don't want to say lift up your arm because I'm getting ready to wash you, blah, blah. Just say lift up your arm.
Simple.
You know, turn around, sit down. Very easy, simple instructions. Be honest with them. If they're trying to tell you something you don't understand, don't say, oh, okay, I understand, because that's going to, you know, affect their trust in you. It's going to increase their frustration.
Mm-hmm.
Acknowledge their frustrations, obviously. Just, you know, being unable to communicate is so frustrating, it can be isolating for them. So really, you want to watch for signs of depression as well. And of course, this is very common in clients who have dementia and Alzheimer's. Stand close by. They may need to see your face and maybe even, you know, read lips if they are having trouble hearing. Assume your client understands you, okay? If you want to avoid talking about them in front of them, like if you have family members say, oh, you know, mom is really acting crazy today, don't say that in front of them, because you may not think they understand, but they may be in that one little day where they're having a good day and they understand what you're saying. So avoid talking about them in front of them, okay? Encourage socialization. I know that's very difficult at this point, but you know, if you can do a Zoom call with family members and get them on the Zoom call so they can see faces and talk to people, that could be key, because, you know, I know a lot of our clients were going to senior centers, adult daycare, things of that nature. So they were out and, you know, with other people. Can't do that now. So that's made things even more difficult for our clients with Alzheimer's. Even in the late stages where they are not able to communicate, still talk with them, okay? They may not be able to respond, but they may be able to catch a few things that you're saying. A lot of times I like to tell people, read to your family members. A lot of people like their Bible to be read to them because they, you know, they just can't do it anymore. Read their favorite book, read the newspaper, just whatever you can to just kind of let them know that you're still there and you still value them, even though they can't communicate with you. You just want to talk to them. Okay.
Wow, some really great tips. Okay, so we do have some questions. First question is actually from me, because I do want to know this. So we have a new client. We're starting to service them tomorrow. And her husband, again, is in early stages. He worked for the House of Representatives about 30 years ago, 30 or 40 years ago. However, since he has, since Alzheimer's has been taking over, he believes he still works there. So every morning he says to her, okay, I have to go to work now. I have to go to work now. And I mean, this goes on for an hour or two, and she does work from home, which is why we're coming in to help her. So what can she do? So at one point she told him, oh, they're not in session right now.
Right.
Well, don't you know, he Googled and he called and found out, yes, they are in session. Why don't you let me go to work? I have to go to work. So what are some tips that we could give her?
Wow, that's very difficult because he still is functioning enough where he's able to do that.
Yes.
That makes it very difficult because, I mean, in a typical situation, you can say, oh, well, today, you know, they're, like you said, they're not in session, or, you know, you took the day off, you took a vacation day, you know, they can.
That's a good one.
Yep. Or, you know, you can try and throw in there that it's a holiday or something like that. But again, he's able to look at the calendar or get on Google. So that's very difficult when
He's sharp as a tack, other than the Alzheimer's. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Right. But yeah, I mean, just, you know, oh, you took a vacation day, so we can spend some time together is a good one to use, because Can't Google that.
No, you can't. Okay, so another question that came in, how do you get them to exercise and or go for a walk? Great question, especially
Yeah.
right now, the weather is perfect for walks.
Exactly, exactly. So it could be just walking around the house. And, you don't want to force them to do something they don't want to do because, again, they're going to get agitated, they're going to get frustrated, and they could get angry and they could get physical. So you don't want to push it, but you don't want to ask them. You want to say, okay, hey, come on, let's go take a walk real quick. And it could be just walking around the house. If you have an open floor plan, just, walking in a circle, walking back and forth. Or you can say, hey, can you go help me find something, and just walk to the other end of the house, maybe see what you're looking for, and then walk back. And you may have to do this several times throughout the day to get enough exercise in. And again, like today, it's beautiful out there. Say, hey, I want to go look at some color changing leaves. Let's go for a walk. You don't want to ask them because they're going to say no. And then at that point, if you try to push it further, they're going to get more frustrated. So you're going to want to tell them, we're going to go for a walk. So let's get your coat on, And
See, I think that it reminds me of when I had little toddlers. It's
exactly.
telling them, oh, guess what? It's time to go for our walk now. Very matter of fact. Oh, it's time to do this now.
Yep.
Right. And almost like an assumptive close for you salespeople out there. Yeah. Right. Okay. Ooh.
But again, you don't want to push the issue. If they just absolutely say, no, I'm not going anywhere.
Right. Okay. All right. So another question that I wanted to ask, and I made a note, and triggers. Okay, you were talking about triggers. Are there any common triggers that you can share with us, or it really depends on the individual?
Depends on the individual.
So it's great to keep a little journal or
Right.
a list as things occur.
Yep.
Okay.
Like if you're talking about maybe a specific member of the family and it irritates them every time, obviously you would want to talk about that specific member of the family. You may not know why it triggers them, but you just want to avoid that.
That's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
exactly.
Wow.
Certain things on TV that gets mentioned, make sure you try to avoid that, But yeah, it is individualized. You just never know what's going to trigger them.
So what can our family caregivers do? Because this is 24/7 for a lot of them. They don't get a break. And so I am sure the frustration level increases for them as well. Do you have any pointers on what they can do to kind of take a time out and
Yeah. So especially if your family member is on a wonky schedule where they may be sleeping or like taking a nap during the day, that would be a good time for you to do something for yourself, whether it's meditate, do a puzzle, just do something that you enjoy, knitting, whatever. But again, this could be where we have to come in, provide that respite care for you. And that's another good one is Respite of Montgomery County. If you are in respite, if you are in Montgomery County, if you are the unpaid primary caregiver and your family member is over 60, you would qualify for respite services. And they provide care minimum of 4 hours per day, but no more than 10 hours a day. And you get allotted a certain amount of hours during the month. And typically it's been 40, I think, recently. So this is where, So this is where we come in and we are with your family member, where you can go out, have lunch with a friend, just get out and do things for yourself. Or it doesn't even have to be leaving the home, going to a different part of the home, just to get away, let yourself decompress, and just kind of, revitalize yourself. So we can definitely provide that information for you afterwards. I'd be happy to.
We do have the link for the respite care. And one thing that I do want to clarify on that as well is it is not income-based. So many of these programs are. This is a county program that is not income-based. It's need-based in terms of having, being a full-time caregiver. So it's really a great program, and it's no charge to you, obviously. All right, so we have a couple more questions. So what types of activities can they do that will help them?
I
Well,
can
that's
tell
a
you
good one.
one
Yeah.
activity not to do is sitting in front of a TV. Do not do that. That's not, my dad used to call it the boob tube.
The boob tube, so did mine.
Yeah. So, depending on what stages they're in, I always recommend doing like crossword puzzles if they can. If they can't do that, like a search a word where they just have to find the word. With technology now, there's a lot of apps out there. There's one that's called, I think it's called Lumosity. They're called brain games. Just things to
Luminosity, yeah.
keep them going. Playing simple games. You know, you don't want them playing Scrabble or something like that, but Candyland, where all they have to know is colors. Things that, you know, require basically a kindergarten level, you know, so you want those types of games. Just very simple things that get them thinking, okay, well, I've got a blue square, so I need to move it to the blue square. Um, Very simple things. You can do crazy eights because all they have to do is match the number. You know, you can do matching games where they just have to match two of the same cards. I think, what's that called? Not apples to apples.
Concentration.
Memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Memory.
Memory. Yeah.
Easy for you to remember.
Exactly. But very simple things, because we don't want them getting agitated and frustrated, because especially like something like Scrabble or Sudoku or something like that, that's a little bit too complicated. But elementary level games are going to be key. Doing puzzles is great, but you don't want like the 1,000-piece puzzle. You want to get ones that are maybe 45 pieces or so, you know, where the pieces are bigger, because they have that sense of
Children's puzzles. The
yeah.
children's, yeah.
Right. And you can go on Amazon and get anything. I mean, you can Google, you know, puzzles for ages, you know, 6 to 12 or whatever. And you can get any of that stuff, but you want it small enough where they can feel that sense of accomplishment from putting the whole thing together.
Great. Okay, here's another for you, please. My mom has been diagnosed with dementia and is now in the moderate stage. How do you know if when it advances to Alzheimer's? My mom has developed trust issues and is sometimes resistant or hesitant to take her daily medications. What tips can you give me to get her to trust me too, and that I am not trying to poison her? Oh, poor love. And tips to get her to want to bathe and change her clothes. She's very resistant and often doesn't think she needs, to which she has been a source of frustration for me, which she picks up on. Okay. Finally, I teared up during your presentation, which was excellent, because I feel I've been using the wrong approaches and will definitely self-correct immediately. Oh, my love, do not feel badly about this. It's a learning process, right? And by the way, before Mary answers, I just want to let you know, I have so many other coffee chat recordings on this topic that I can share with you as well. But Mary, let's just take it from the beginning. How do I know when it's Alzheimer's?
Unfortunately, that's something that has to be diagnosed by a physician. There's memory screenings, which we have done. The memory screenings we do are very brief. They will have a lot more in-depth ones. I would recommend getting a neurologist if you don't already have one, because that's their specialty. I've got the question pulled up. So,
oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Then I'll
Trust
let you.
issues. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to deal with that, because again, when she's in that stage where they develop the trust issues, the paranoia, you know, like you said, she feels like she's getting poisoned because she just doesn't understand. It's almost like you might have to actually crush up her meds if possible and put them in something that she likes, pudding, applesauce.
That's a good tip.
You may want to check with her physician to see if there's any medications she can come off of, just to minimize the amount that she has to take. You may want to find if there's something in liquid form that can be mixed in with like her favorite drink. That it might hopefully not destroy the taste, but you know, you have to be kind of creative when it comes to that sort of thing. When it comes to bathing, this is one that we see a lot of, and we're not sure why, but they're afraid to shower, and just not sure really where that comes from. So again, don't ask. You may have to just say, we're going to go take a shower. If they just absolutely refuse, they do sell like, they're like baby wipes, but they're for adults that, they've got soap in them and you just kind of wash them off. You don't have to rinse or anything, just enough to get them cleaned. Um, Changing their clothes. Hopefully she's getting into nighttime clothes. If not, you really just have to kind of encourage it. Say, okay, it's time to go to bed. Let's put on your nighttime clothes. If the clothes that she was wearing the day before are dirty, you want to make sure you put the dirty clothes in a separate place. You don't want it like, most people have their dirty clothes hamper in their room. So then when they're done, they just put it in a separate room. So that way she can't go into that hamper and pull the clothes out because that's what she wants to wear and they're soiled. Very resistant. Yeah. So again, with the frustration, like I said, they do pick up on that stuff. And obviously you've noticed that. So trying to remain calm. And I know it can be very difficult. Believe me, I understand. You just have to really think. Just take a few seconds, kind of count to 5 and just, yeah, believe me, I understand. It is very frustrating. This disease is just, it affects everybody. It really does in one way or another. And I pray one day we do find a cure, but at this point we just have to deal with it and hope for the best.
And seek out some support groups
Exactly.
as well.
I can't stress that enough because talking to other people, and they may have some other ideas that they've used that you may be able to try.
The Alzheimer's Association, as Mary noted, does have, our chapter is the Capital Region, I believe, Washington Capital Region. So if you go on alz.org, you will find local support groups. Also, we work a lot with Sheila Griffith from the Alzheimer's Association, and I can put you in touch with her as well. She's a great resource. So we'll go ahead and post that in your follow-up email. So Mary, I see a couple more questions, so I'll let you go ahead.
My friend said it is embarrassing to take a bath. I've never heard that one, to be honest with you.
I'm sorry, can you read that aloud? What was that?
My friend said it is embarrassing to take a bath. Yeah, that's not one I've ever really encountered.
Which is okay though, because you suggested the adult wipes. Perhaps that's a product that would help with that.
And just making
sure embarrassed because they just don't want the caregiver to see them in that.
Yeah.
In their birthday suit. I mean, that would embarrass me.
Right. Absolutely. Especially in the stages where they still are having more good days than bad days. Yeah. But at that point, most likely they should be able to take care of themselves unless they've got some other issues going on, such as a stroke or something like that. And that may be where a professional coming in might help. And that's another thing is I've noticed that, the client with the Alzheimer's, they will not do anything for a family member because they feel that they're being nagging and everything. But then you get one of our caregivers coming in, they're wearing their scrubs, they're professional, and they tend to listen to them.
Yeah, that is so true. Right. And it's just like, remember when, if you've ever had children, when the children are young, they save their best behavior for you. Ha ha. They will be little angels at preschool all day and come home and have a meltdown. It's kind of the same thing. They're more comfortable with you. You're getting the worst treatment, but someone else may react differently too.
And, there's also, unfortunately, a condition called sundowners. And I think we're doing a coffee chat on that in a couple of weeks.
That is our very next coffee chat, as a matter of fact.
So definitely stay tuned for that one, because it is literally as soon as the sun goes down, it's like turning on a switch and they're out of control.
Right. So our next coffee chat, what a great segue, which is 2 weeks from today. So that will be the 21st at 11 a.m. is going to be with an expert on sundowning and what that behavior is all about, strategies to use to get through that period of the day. Yeah. So before we close up, last chance for questions. And Tiffany, let me ask you, were there any on Facebook? Any questions?
No questions on Facebook.
Okay, terrific. All right, Mary, last words.
So as you can see on the screen, these are the phone numbers. If you would like information regarding the respite services, just give us a call. I can email you the application. I will tell you that it is 14 pages, but it's not, which can be kind of daunting, but a lot of it is just initialing. Yes, I acknowledge this, I acknowledge that. It gets basic history from you. There is one form that is for your provider to fill out. And it doesn't have to be a physician. It can be a nurse practitioner. It can be a PA. It can be a registered nurse. So if you either don't have a primary care or you don't have a great relationship with them or you have trouble getting in touch with them, you can let me know and I can actually fill that out for you.
Terrific. And we can actually, we do send a follow-up email after the presentation, which has a link to the recording. So in case you want to re-listen to it, and we will also put the ARC Montgomery respite link right in that. Mary, is it okay if I put your contact info as well? Terrific. All right, everyone. This was great. Mary, I can't thank you enough. We're so blessed and lucky to have you on our staff. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Any of you that are listening, if you would like to have a conversation with any of us, feel free to call us. And other than that, go have a great day. We'll reconvene in 2 weeks. We will be doing another free memory screening. More information on that. And just a little plug, we are getting ready to launch our health and wellness workshop series with Dr. Zykia LaRue. So look for more information on that as well. Have a wonderful day. Mary, thank you so, so much. Bye-bye, everyone.